Welcome, friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us today because you drive the conversation. That's what Take Two is all about. It's a fresh look, a new take on life, and we pick different topics that we think are pertinent to your life, and we discuss them because we know there is some spiritual angle to it that can really help us, can grow us closer to God. And today's topic, I just want to jump right in, Jerry, because I am so excited about this topic. It's how's my driving? We're talking about being in traffic situations, maybe, and it could bring out the best in us or the worst in us. And we want to talk about that. What does it mean? Because everything in life, there is a reason for it, Jerry. And I'm excited. I have so much to share on this because after praying about it, Jerry, I had this huge revelation. But I just wanted to say good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, and as you said at the start of the show, our listeners, you drive the program. No pun intended. Well, maybe there is a pun intended today. How is your driving? And you don't have to. I think we can all poke a little bit of fun at ourselves. I'll be the first one. I have really changed my driving habits over the years. I would drive kind of fast, and I'd say kind of rudely when I was younger, and just because I think that's sometimes the mentality of a person who's a little bit younger. But I like to be more cautious now, and even maybe let people merge in front of me and so forth. What really bothers me, though, is that it's just I'll tell you, I think you learn more about human nature when you're behind the wheel driving a car than in just about any other environment, Debbie.
I agree completely, Jerry. May I share something with our listeners, and I hope it's not revealing too much, because I really do crack up when I'm driving with you. I laugh beyond my side hurting laughter. You don't see it, but I'm like cracking up because I don't know if you realize you do something when you drive. Can I share that?
I don't know. You said you wanted to reveal something. I didn't know that it was about me.
Well, this is our anniversary month. I figured we've been on for a year. We might as well start peeling back the curtains. And, no, but it really is cute. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Whenever you're in traffic, Jerry, I think one of the ways, and I don't mean to analyze you in any way, but one of the ways I think you cope with being in traffic is that you say things out loud it comes across humorous, but it really is a little bit cynical, and I think it's hilarious. Like you'll say you'll be in traffic and somebody will cut you off, and instead of you kind of taking a deep breath, you'll go, "Oh, excuse me, sir, I didn't realize I was in your way," and it's and it's hilarious. And I remember when we were going to World Meeting of Families and the whole TMM group was in the van. And I think Deacon Harold was even in the van as well. We were laughing so hard because you were like a one-man comedy act. It was hilarious. But I just had to share that. It was pretty funny.
Okay, well, I don't analyze your driving enough to be able to share with the world something about you, but we do want you, our listeners, to call in and share. Here's our number. It's 1-800-585-9396. How are you behind the wheel? Maybe you're someone who just putts along and you take your time, and if someone wants to merge in front of you, you slow down. Hey, absolutely, get in there. Just the world is perfect. Or what do you do when you're in a hurry? When you're in a hurry and somebody cuts in front of you and they make it through the yellowish orange light, it's about to turn red, and you don't. And you have to stop and wait. Yeah. And what about heavy traffic? Heavy traffic. This is a really a pet peeve of mine. And so anybody, if you deal with, how do you deal with it? Do you make it a prayer time? Do you get a rosary in on your way to work instead of worrying about the traffic? 1-800-585-9396.
So if you just tuned in, this is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher. And the topic today is how's my driving? And we really want to talk about it and see if it is a metaphor for life, if we can learn about it, if maybe these are the life lessons that God allows for us to encounter on a daily basis in order for us to to develop virtues, to move our vices into virtues. I mean, maybe that's what it is. That's my revelation, Jerry. I don't know if our listeners know this, but we really do pray about these topics, and we really do meditate on them, so that we really would love for God to impart whatever he wants to impart to all of us, and based on the topics that are chosen. So there is a method to this. And when I was praying about it last night, Jerry, I had a huge revelation, huge. I thought to myself, it's so interesting. I really believe in my heart of hearts there's no accidents. And I really believe that God allows certain things that we encounter in life as practice and training ground for us to be better people. And it's interesting, and driving is one of those habits, or one of those things that we do that really can bring out the best in us, or it really does bring out the worst in us. I mean, you see that with road rage. And it's very, very interesting how driving is one of those things that's a trigger. And so for this topic, to me, it really makes complete sense that we encounter this on a daily basis. And I'm assuming that the sooner we master some of the things that we struggle with, like patience and stuff like that, the better off, the more enjoyable the experience would be. So that was the aha moment I had last night when I was praying about this topic. And it's interesting, in life skills, they tell you, just because you learn something in life skills doesn't mean you've mastered it. You have to constantly remind yourself. It's an awareness of trying to learn things over and over again. And it's interesting because I never really thought of it this way with driving, because we do it it's so second nature to all of us. And it's very interesting, though. It does, I think, help us become better Christians in a way. So I can see phone lines lighting up, so I think others may agree or may disagree with me, and that's okay, because it's our anniversary month. I'm ready to take it on. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, in case you didn't know it, dear friends, June 15th, it's a Wednesday this year. It's going to be the 1-year anniversary of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we just want to thank you for being a part of the listening family from day one, perhaps, excuse me, or maybe just for the last week or month or whatever. It's just so great to have you here. You do drive the program literally every day. We're going to get that break going right now. We do have, it looks like, 2 open phone lines. We got several people on the line right now talking about how's my driving. Is being a defensive driver more important to you than ever because of the other guy, as they say? What about when your kids are in the car? Are you more conscious of setting a good example behind the wheel? How are you as a driver? 1-800-585-9396. Your takes are coming right up.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
How is it possible that God created everything?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest?
Why is the Catholic Church so unwilling to The Catholic Church is too rich.
Catholics worship Mary and are committed.
As far as I'm concerned, all religions are equal.
You are called to communion with Dr. David Anders. Today, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
The EWTN book of the month for June is Mother Angelica's Answers, Not Promises. Mother's straightforward solutions to life's puzzling problems are written in this practical, humorous, and common sense collection that will help you with your struggles and draw you closer to God. It's available through the EWTN Religious Catalog web store, EWTNRC.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
This is Bishop Paul Bradley of the Diocese of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Hi, this is Tim Staples from Catholic Answers Live.
This is Father John Ricardo. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
We're so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. And today we are talking on Take Two about how's my driving? That's the question. How's my driving? Lines are, I think, completely full. But that's when a line opens up, that's when you can jump in at 1-800-585-9396. You can listen to the show. You're not going to miss anything because after you talk to Matt Kabinski, our call screener, he's going to put you on hold, but you get to listen live. So you won't miss anything. You won't repeat anything. It'll be a great experience. we can almost guarantee it. So how's my driving? Christina is up first. She got in so fast from Worcester, Massachusetts, listening to EWTN Radio on Emmanuel Radio. Hi, Christina. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hey, good afternoon. Good subject to talk about today. I just want you to know that since I got my driver's license, the only accident that I was involved in was a rear end, which was my fault. That was way like 20, 30 years ago. And the thing is, too, I am very courteous of the drivers. And plus the courtesy to me, I think that's part of your driving etiquette. You know, if a car, waves you on to go, and I do the same thing with other drivers. But not only that, but I'm a daughter of a state trooper, and growing up in that type of a family, you have every reason to drive well. Like I said, I've only had one rear end accident, and right now I'm in my 60s now, so you can tell I'm a very courteous driver, and I always, I'm very considerate of the other driver. And it's just, I love to drive, actually. But
that's beautiful.
It's great. And that's why I'm calling in today, because that's it. I'm a safe and courteous driver, and I'm very polite to other drivers.
Well, Christina, I want to ask you this question because this has happened to me before. I was wondering if it's happened to you, because I tend to be a courteous driver as well. I like to think that. And have you ever been so courteous that somebody else gets upset with you because you maybe stop traffic to let somebody in and the person behind you kind of swerves around you and gives you not a nice look, saying, well, thanks a lot, you're slowing up traffic, letting other people in? Have you ever had that happen to you? Because that's happened to me.
Not really, but you know what it is? I live in a low-income housing unit, and coming home like around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, the street that I live on, it's very heavy with traffic. And if there was somebody behind me and I put my right directional on to get into where I live, people swerve right around me, and that can be aggravating. But some of them have to learn to slow down, because too many people today drive too fast, and that's why there's so many accidents. And that's I don't let it bother me anymore. I know what you're talking about, but like I said, I like to be courteous and very polite to other drivers. They're polite to me. But I've had horns honked at me. I've had people give me the finger for certain things. But hey, as long as I know that I'm driving safe, that's all I care about. And if they want to speed by me, let them. I just go my own pace, drive the speed limit. I don't even think I've ever driven over the speed limit. I always go the speed limit, and that's it. That's why I'm calling in.
You're a model citizen. You're
Good
you said
you.
your dad. Yeah, your dad's a state trooper.
He was a state trooper. God rest his soul. And as a matter of fact, the day I went to get my driver's permit, he knew everybody in the registry as far as the registry cops went. So the day that I was going for my pink slip and I pulled over at the side of the road after the instructor was done, I had flashing lights behind me. So I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "What did I do wrong?" So lo and behold, behind me was my dad in the cruiser, walking up to the instructor to ask him how I did on the driving test, on the road test. So now you know that I'm a safe driver.
Yeah, you were frightened or scared into being a really model driver. Christina, thanks for your...
my dad behind me, believe me. I just thought maybe I did something wrong, but there's my dad getting out of the cruiser, walking up to the car, and he asked the instructor how I did. "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Cowsum, she did very well today." So I'm like, oh, jeez. But, that's how I was brought up. So,
Well, and it stayed with you too, Christina. And the other drivers on the road can be thankful that you are such a patient, courteous, and friendly driver. Thanks for sharing that with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. We have an open phone line now. How's my driving? How is your driving? What do you like behind the wheel? This isn't true confessions. You don't need to get too down and dirty, but just generally speaking, are you patient? Are you kind? Do you get a little impatient? Do you dislike when other drivers do to you what sometimes you do yourself? 1-800-585-9396. Steve is actually driving through Alabama right now, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hello, Steve. How you doing?
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. I'm doing good.
Cool.
Well, I'm a truck driver, and so I've been driving for 20 years now.
And I've come to the realization that if there's a lot of aggressive drivers out there, a lot of rude drivers, and if you're driving professionally all the time, it can get to you. So I've gradually come to the point where, like, I'll drive 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. I don't try to pass people. I just try to stay in my lane, and I found that that's actually, I think, made me a safer driver, and it's also made me a less stressed driver, because it can be stressful out here now. And you mentioned about letting people in and stuff. Another thing that I've noticed, I'll let people in, do this or do that, something nice. I would say probably only 20% of the drivers will actually acknowledge some form of gratitude for you letting them in or doing something of that nature.
Right.
And but I also, you talked about saying prayers and stuff. When I'm in a situation where it's a pretty, I'm on the interstate and there's not much traffic and stuff, I'll say the rosary. And I would say that my spiritual life has actually grown significantly as a consequence of that time that I have to pray and meditate on God. So so much so that I actually wrote a theology book, and
wow.
So it's truck driving has really changed my life for the better.
Wow, that is awesome.
Steve, this is very inspiring. And, as you're talking, it makes me want to ask you this, and I see this a lot. I'm sure you see it all the time, but people who are on the road where there are over-the-road truck drivers like yourself, sometimes if you're going uphill, for example, you guys can't go 50, 60 uphill. You got too much weight. So you kind of slow traffic down, or there are a lot of circumstances that are out of your control where you might be inconveniencing somebody else. It's not, there's nothing you can do about it. But I wonder, do you sometimes see that people don't appreciate the fact that there's nothing you can do about it, and maybe give you a rude gesture or a look or a honk, or go around you as fast as they can and cut in front of you and just make some sign to show their displeasure?
I don't notice it too much going up hills, because I think most people understand that. I'll tell you where I do see it, though, is you get some places where, like, there'll be two left turn lanes. It's a busy city or something like that, and you come off an off-ramp and there's two left turn lanes. Well, you're required as a truck driver to be in the outer left turn lane. Because your trailer will actually cheat into the inner one if you don't. But then you may be, once you make that left turn, you have to get over immediately because maybe you have a store delivery to do or something of that nature, and people will get upset at you or will actually block you from getting over into the next lane because they don't understand that we're required by law to be in that lane. And that's, and they just don't know what it's like to be a truck driver is what it boils down to. And that's an example of when people, their lack of understanding and knowledge of what's involved in trucking will lead them to get upset at you for what you have to do.
Right. Steve, that's interesting. Steve, I want to ask you a question, because since you do this on a regular basis for your job, and you said you wrote a theology book, so obviously you must be a deep thinker. Have you ever analyzed, I've always wanted to kind of get into the minds of what makes people do what they do in traffic. Have you ever thought about, or maybe made some assessments on why people do what they do, why there is road rage? I mean, you can't tell me that it's just because somebody is that out of control with anger that they're going to let go like that. There's got to be reasons that things are happening, deeper reasons. Like maybe people feel that when someone cuts them off, that's a sign of disrespect and they can't handle that or whatever. Have you ever analyzed any of these life kind of lessons on the road?
I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and I think there's several reasons. One, for example, would be is we live in a very self-centered world right now. There's a lot of narcissism there, and so people think, they're in a hurry. They think, I want to be here, and I don't care about you. I'm going to be first no matter what. It's like there's a lane ending. They'll jam that, their floor of their car so they can get at the front. And I think the society is now is so. I mean, you got to be doing something every minute. You got to be on your cell phone, or you got to be doing texting, or you got to be, listening to the radio, or you have to be, whatever. You got to be doing something. Mm-hmm. And we busy ourselves so much that we can't slow down and just relax and go with the flow, so to speak. And I think that's a large part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you're right on, Steve. And hey, thanks for being a listener, and thank you for your witness. You said you pray when you're driving on the road when it's safe to do so, and you can. And it just sounds like you're one of the really great folks, the men and women who haul our stuff around so that we can live a little bit better quality of life. So, Steve, thank you for that. Be safe out there. You'll be in our prayers, and we ask you to keep us in yours as well. 1-800-585-9396. What kind of a driver are you? Do other people do things that maybe get under your skin, or maybe you find yourself being a little bit maybe impatient or uncharitable yourself sometimes? We can learn a lot from this, and there really is just such a huge and direct connection to our spiritual lives. So we've also got Bill, who's behind the wheel near Boston, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Bill, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hey, welcome. I'm always curious. I drive a lot of two-lane roads because I'm up in the Adirondacks as a nature guide. And the people, there's some days when I'm driving slower to take in the scenery, or some days when I'm driving a little quicker. And when people come up behind me that obviously want to drive quicker than me, I pull over to let them go by because they're obviously at a different pace than me. But the opposite way, when I come up behind people obviously, nobody likes being followed closely. And people just don't seem to want to pull over to just let you go by. Obviously, I want to drive at a different pace today than they do. And it just amazes me that people get upset almost. You can see they're getting upset when all they need to do is just pull over and let me go by. I'm at a different pace today than you. And I always make a habit of it. If somebody comes up behind me, I make sure as soon as I find a spot that's safe, I pull over, let them go by. And I'm just always curious about what the thought process is for people in that.
I would agree with you, Bill. I'm always curious about that. That's why I asked Steve that question. And what Steve had shared earlier, the previous caller, is he was saying about how people want to be the first one in or the first one. I think there's this competitive sense when driving that, people are not going to take my lane. They're not going to take my spot. They're not going to get ahead of me. And I feel that I can sense that you have experienced that as well. And it's unfortunate because, just like you said, you're at a different pace that day than the other person. Why can't that other person just let you have a pass and go by? I don't understand it. So I would agree with you. I think there's a deeper rooted personality situation happening with people. That's what I would say. Mm-hmm.
And it's something about being in your car and it's your territory, because often these people, then when I get a jagged yellow or a white line where I can pass, as I go to pass them, they speed up. And it's like, it's just crazy, the thought process. And, it always makes me feel good when somebody comes up behind me. I let them go by. Obviously, they're at a different place today than me, and I'm driving. It's just crazy. And there's something about our vehicle and that space that's ours, and it's really you could do a thesis on it for sure, on the whole human psyche of driving the car, and then you get these road rage instances where people just go out of their minds. It's just crazy. But keep the faith. You guys do a great job. I enjoy the show.
Thanks, Bill. Good to hear from you. We're learning a lot today about driving and the importance of us really being virtuous. It's an opportunity, when you think about it, to grow in holiness if we are well-behaved, let's put it that way, behind the wheel. So share your take right now at 1-800-585-9396. Phil is going to be next. We've got Ann in Toronto, Canada, Carl and Brenda, and we'd love to have you join us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie as well.
All of our advances in social networking and communication are amazing, but if we don't keep it all in place, we might end up in touch with the news of the day, 1,000, quote, friends online, and 1 million work emails, but we lose touch with the most important things in life, like the people right in front of us, and God revealing Himself to us through the experiences of daily life. I know it's not easy, but you have to seize the silence. Carve out moments to unplug. Read a book, say a prayer, or just stand in the sun and take a deep breath. All the noise will be waiting for you when you're done, but you'll face it all a little differently. In the words of Mother Teresa, the fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. If you don't have peace, go back to step one. Got silence? This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
From EWTN News Nightly in Washington, D.C., I'm Brian Patrick with your EWTN Newslink. A French ship picks up signals from what may be the Egypt Air jet lost in the Mediterranean Sea last month. The signals are presumed to be from either the plane's flight data or cockpit voice recorder. What may be the Egypt Air jet lost in the Mediterranean Sea last month. The signals are presumed to be from either the plane's flight data or cockpit voice recorder. All 66 people flying from Paris to Cairo were killed. Donald Trump opens a golf resort in Scotland as the UK debates its membership in the European Union. Trump has said Britain would be better off without the EU. That puts him at odds with
So very nice that you're with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I get emails from Trent Beatty. He is a writer for the National Catholic Register, owned by EWTN. He sends guest suggestions quite often, and he has also written a book, or I guess maybe edited the book. It's a collection of stories of professional athletes who are very, very devout Catholics. And I just wanted to do Trent a favor. Actually, just in time for Father's Day. This would make a perfect gift. These books are $1 a piece. You've heard of Dynamic Catholic, Matthew Kelly's fine organization. If you go to dynamiccatholic.com, you will find a number of great books there. They're having their $1 Father's Day sale. You got to buy, I think, 250 of them or something like that. But hey, give them out at your parish. Ask your pastor to buy them for all the dads on Father's Day. It's Fit for Heaven by Trent Beatty, and again, you'll find $1 a copy books at dynamiccatholic.com. All right, Debbie and I are going to go to Phil next in Lancaster, New York, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Not doing too bad. I'd just like to read this driver's prayer from the Sacred Auto League. I think it might be inspiring here. It goes, "Gracious God, you led Abraham and Sarah from their home and guided them in all of their travels. You guided them safely to the destination you had chosen for them. Be with us now as we travel and guard us every mile of our journey. Help us to be attentive, cautious, and concerned about our fellow travelers. Make our highway safe and keep us from all danger. Sacred Heart of Jesus, guide us to our destination and help us to be prayerful, careful drivers. Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us. Amen." And I just wanted to read that prayer because it inspires me when I get ready to go out on the road.
That is beautiful. That's the same prayer that my mother used to have as well, Phil. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That is absolutely beautiful. The other thing, too, that you're making me think of, Phil, that's very important, in addition to praying when we're driving, which is absolutely appropriate. If we have a rosary hanging from our mirror, or we have a bumper sticker like a local Catholic radio bumper sticker on, or something that identifies us as a Christian, that's also another reason for us to be an example on the road. Would you agree with that, Phil?
Oh, yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I do have a rosary. It's not hanging from my mirror, but I have it like in a little cup holder there, and I have it in the car all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I do. I really do think that does make a difference, and it makes us, and it reminds us to stay at that level so that we can be Christian examples. I think that's awesome. Thank you, Phil, for sharing that beautiful prayer.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call.
You're very welcome. Good to hear from you. Next is Anne, who is listening in Toronto, Canada, also on EWTN Radio, the Station of the Cross. Anne, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome to the program.
Hello. I grew up in a rural area where everyone knew each other's license plates, so there were
really?
people in the car. And we moved to one of the busiest areas in North America, and suddenly those are cars. It's not people you see in them, it's just another car. And it becomes very difficult to maintain the degree of humility one would like to, because you have to keep everyone safe, otherwise it's very dangerous. And especially when you think of truck drivers who have to meet their deadlines, and I see cars cuts in front of them and expect them to be able to stop it. It's very scary. But we always start with the Hail Mary. If we're going on long journeys, then the rosary just opens up the road ahead of us, behind us, and it's as though we're in a bubble. We always feel that protection, and it's wonderful how we feel our faith bolstering us. But I must say that I often have to go to confessions and say, "Bless me, Father, but I have been driving again."
Oh, Anne, you are precious.
Something tells me,
yes.
Something tells me it's not that bad for you. You sound like such a sweet, gentle soul.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's hard
Don't
to
cross
keep that
you, huh?
balance of being safe for other people and seeing other people be doing stupid things that endanger others.
Well, yeah, and Anne, you bring up a good point, because vehicles, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there have been people arrested for assault with a deadly weapon or whatever you might want to call it, using their vehicles to try and harm or kill other people. God forbid that should happen. But my point is, we are behind the wheel of something that weighs several thousand pounds and goes really fast and is made of metal, doesn't slow down very quickly. These things they could be very, very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we all sort of we all can ultimately get along on the road and drive at various speeds and get in front of each other or behind each other or stop at stoplights, and things typically go pretty harmoniously is really quite something, Debbie.
Miraculous.
Sometimes.
I think it's
miraculous.
miraculous.
Quite miraculous. Yeah.
Yes. We always feel protection. We have to ask for it.
Right, right. And you are precious. Thank you so very much. It's in the morning where we are, but it's the afternoon where you are. So have a beautiful afternoon.
Thank you too. God bless you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Wow.
I thought of something else too, Debbie, and that is, for me, here's my philosophy when I'm driving. And sometimes people will just get in the car to go for a drive, just to drive and see the beautiful
really? To look at
countryside
scenery?
or what have you. Yeah, to actually just
enjoy the
pedal
ride
along and enjoy the beautiful nature that God has given us. Typically, though, what is the reason we're in a car? It's not to be in a car on a freeway. It's to be up there. It's to be where we want to go. And I think that sometimes influences the way we act, because in today's world especially, am I right or wrong, Debbie, we have this mentality with our gadgets and our schedules, and I've got to be somewhere right now. And so we get behind the wheel and we think, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late. I've got to get going. Got to cut this person off. Got to run this red light. I think sometimes that can play a factor in how we drive.
Right, we're on that treadmill. I agree with you 100%. I was in the cell phone store last week because my cell phone was on the blink, and a lady walked in with a portfolio. She She had a laptop, she had 2 cell phones, and some other device. I didn't even recognize it. And she came into the cell phone store and she said, my cell phone dropped and it's broken. And the guy picked it up, and her first words out of her mouth was, how long is this going to take me? How long? And she kept saying it. And he goes, ma'am, I don't know. I haven't even assessed the situation yet. And she goes, how long is this going to take me? And I thought, wow, we have really gotten to a point where exactly what you just said, Jerry, because in her mind, she's probably thinking she's going to be late. And this is going to stop me from moving forward. It's going to stop me from getting there. And that's really unfortunate that we've gotten to that point. And in driving, it's so evident that that's what it is, because people are in a race to get wherever they're going. It's scary to me though, Jerry, because I've often thought about this, that sometimes I believe that God allows certain things to happen that hold us back, and maybe it's holding us back and could save us from an accident or something. So you don't really know in God's plan what it is. And so if you don't cooperate with it, if you work against it by just being selfish and saying, I've got to get there, maybe it's causing more problems for us. I don't know. That's a very good thing to ponder. Okay, so Carl, you have been waiting so patiently. I think you're going to get our Patience Award today, Carl. You're listening to EWTN Radio near the Texas Panhandle on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Carl. Welcome to Take Two.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I've had a bit of a epiphany. I do not have road rage, but I do have a flare-up. So I don't tailgate or flip people off or curse at them or scream at them as I'm going by it. But what you were just explaining about being in a hurry and I got to get there, because after that I'm supposed to be over here and it could be mostly helping people. I'm a fireman, a professional fireman, and maybe partly that whole sense of urgency to get where we got to get to be there. But I guess I'm trying to do better listening to EWTN like I just an hour ago. So I prayed my rosary, and it's kind of calming. But people that it almost seems like maybe they're inconsiderate when they're going 5 miles below the speed limit, and myself or somebody else, we got to get there. I'm not sure. I know it's wrong and unloving, unchrist-like, but how to fix it after driving this way for the last 40 years, I have no clue.
Mm-hmm. Well, can I just interject something, maybe just to try this, Carl? Because you said you were a firefighter, I believe, and so obviously when you're getting that alarm and you've got to run with that sense of urgency, that's understandable. Absolutely. I mean, if God forbid I needed to call the firefighters, I'd want them there in seconds. So I understand that. But from your day to day to try and just get yourself to an even balance, maybe have a conscious thought of what we were just talking about, this idea that there are reasons that God slows us up. There are reasons that God halts us or changes our plans or changes our direction or allows us to experience what's happening right here and now to save us from future problems. And we've heard this time and time again. You hear stories all the time of people missing their flights, and then something happens on that flight, or people missing a certain engagement, and then they find out that something really bad happened at that event. I mean, we hear these stories all the time. So there's got to be a reason to it that God allows us to do that. So would you be open to this idea of just saying, okay, Lord, if you're telling me to go 5 miles beneath the speed limit, there's a reason.
I'm in 100% agreement with that, and I totally believe that. And there's those times where I'm getting held up or hemmed up, and it's, all right, just go with the flow. Don't fight it. Just do it. And I'll have my moments or my drives. I drive. We also are have 2 different ranches that we take care of, but we raise cattle on that are one's 65 miles one direction and one's 165 miles the other direction. So we're putting 50,000 plus miles on these pickups a year. So, and I when I feel that flare up, sometimes I like a different personality driving, that as much as you try to, okay, wait, Just relax. You can handle this. You'll get there. And then there's other times it doesn't even cross your mind to relax. You're just so focused on getting there that you kind of become blind to your surroundings, or maybe the effect you're having on other drivers. But
right,
those are the moments I'm lacking the insight, the self-control, whatever the word would be, to calm down, Paul. You'll be all right. You'll get there.
But Carl, here's the thing, Carl. The reason why is you went on autopilot. We all go on autopilot, and when we go on autopilot, that's when we lose the senses that God is in the moment, God is with us. We lose those because we're on autopilot. So you're not alone. You're not alone. It's just I do the same thing when I go on autopilot. I mean, oh my goodness, clear the pathways. I mean, really, it's not good. So it's
ugly.
Oh, stop it! It is. Is it really that ugly? No. Okay. No, but seriously, Carl, so you're not alone. And I think this is good for all of us to remember that we must, especially in this day and age as Catholic Christians, we've got to stay constantly aware and not allow ourselves to go on autopilot as often as we do. But in this day and age, it's easy to do it. So it sounds like, you're making an effort, and that's awesome. And you got to imagine that God's blessing you for that, because when you make an effort, when you come a little bit towards God, he comes 10 steps towards you. So way to go, Carl.
Yeah, Carl, I think the key that you said was you're getting better, and that's what life is all about. We could just beat ourselves up, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Carl, but sometimes we think, oh, there, I did it again, but maybe you did it one less time this time than last time, and so just getting better and moving closer to God is the key. So thanks, Carl, for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We are going to get to Peter right after Brenda. Brenda listening to EWTN Radio on Catholic Radio Indy in Noblesville, Indiana. Hi, Brenda. Welcome.
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm well. I was just calling because you were asking about theories about why there is road rage, and I have given a little bit of thought to this. And to me, it has to do with transitioning from one role to another. And we used to have all of these rituals that would guide us in a transition from role to role. Say you were becoming an adult, there would be a ritual in your community that helped you into that role. When we get married, there's a ritual that helps us into that role. And so we're leaving, one role, maybe it's parent, husband, wife, and we're driving a distance, and then we're employer or employee or whatever it is that we're going to. And so we're in this no man's land where, psychologically, like the previous caller, Carl said, it's like a different personality takes over. So I don't know if it has to do maybe people that are praying the rosary. It's a ritual that they've chosen to do, or the prayers they say, it helps them. But it also is one of those ritual things that we can do that helps us to transition. It's just my little theory.
I think it's a great theory, and I would agree with you. The one thing that I have given it a lot of thought as well, and I was thinking to myself that I personally believe that we change dispositions, because I personally feel that driving is a life lesson in patience, and God wants us to be patient in all things. Think about how when we pray to God, we want it right now. We want God to answer us right now. We don't want to wait. And and so driving, every which way you look at it, I mean, you go to a stoplight, you have to wait. You're waiting in line to get a parking spot. You're waiting patiently. You're waiting patiently in traffic. It's always this idea of patience, and I think God. I just have this funny feeling that when we get to heaven, God willing, God's going to say, listen, I gave you the greatest exercise on earth. It was called driving. And so many of you didn't master it. You know what I'm saying, Brenda?
Yes. One thing I have noticed about myself is that since I am no longer in the workforce, I'm kind of in the same role 24/7 as a wife and mother, and I certainly don't have road rage issues where I might have in the past. So I think, when you're just out doing what you're supposed to be doing, I don't know, maybe it gives you more of a sense of peace. I don't know.
Right. Right. Very good. No, I loved it. I loved your take on it. I think it's good. And it helps us to think about this and ponder this at a deeper level and what this means for us as adults and as Christians. And I think this is a good topic that we're having. I think it's going to help all of us. Well, I do believe all of us who are listening to Take Two today, we're going to get on that road today and we're going to be much better drivers, at least for today. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, at least for a couple minutes.
Really?
Well, fortunately, by the way, Brenda, thank you for your phone call and for being a listener and calling the program. We greatly appreciate it. I live in an area where there is not a lot of heavy traffic, and during the summer months when the snowbirds all clear out, you can pretty much get from one end of the area to another pretty quickly. I do notice it, though, during the winter months. You've got the people who come and spend the winter here, and boy, you can just feel the area swell, the traffic slows down and so forth. But it's not too bad, and I'm grateful for that. I wouldn't do well living in a major metropolitan area. I really wouldn't. I don't know if I'd have the patience for that. But Peter, we're going to go to Peter in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Lovely place, listening to EWTN Radio on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Peter. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Yeah, it's where the lovely people live, you know.
That's right.
I just want to throw out a couple of things. First thing that Debbie said, I speak too, and when somebody hits me, I say, "Oh, there you go, Your Majesty. I'm sorry I'm in the way." So your husband, when he talks to himself in the car and you're amused, well, you can. I think that's probably the way us males kind of look at life. Okay, well, sorry, I didn't mean to encroach on your rights. I have none. Have a good day. Now, moving on to a more serious note, if you look at World War II, after that ended, we had a prosperous culture, a culture that was God-fearing, a culture, that was very religious and humble. And unfortunately, this is one of the things I always think about is what happened. We've pushed God away so far that now we've become selfish, greedy. We've become compartmentalized. We don't know what it is to give. We talk about it. We have, fuzzy little feelings, but what it is to truly give of oneself, just stare at the cross and reflect. I'm sitting at the side of the road, and I'm on a cell phone, and I just had an individual come up behind me and get frustrated, and I'm parked talking safely, and there's no laws that tell me to do that. It's a personal etiquette because I respect fellow drivers. And she, with a child in the side of her car, on a cell phone, the driver, who is female, decided to get agitated and zipped around me and blew off a stop sign. And I just think it's sad because a lot of these people just don't realize what a cell phone's for. You're not at home. They're for emergencies. If you need to contact somebody or somebody is contacting you, pull over to the side of the road. Back in the 60s, they had, lock your doors, take your keys when people were ripping cars off. Well, today it's a different culture. And that chaos that callers, and I've gotten this from other individuals calling in today, is that simply put, we have pushed God so far away that we think we don't need God. And with the technology has got more of our attention than we should be focused in on God and fellow man and community, because a lot of these problems, this chaos, would not exist if we would genuinely pray. So for the first 100 callers, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, Debbie is going to, in honor of her husband, give everybody a St. Christopher medal who can't see what I'm saying. But, and that's a little joking, but I really mean sincerely that individuals, when we get on our knees and humble ourselves again, even with this technology, which is God-given, not from man, God-given, to make our lives easier and to communicate more readily and more efficiently, first let's communicate with God. And the first place we need to get is back on our knees and say, "My Lord, my God, in Jesus' name, we're sorry for offending thee."
Amen.
Great stuff, Peter. Well, that's a great take, Peter. And I know we've been on Redeemer Radio for probably 2 or 3 weeks now. And so you may not be aware, Peter, that I'm actually Debbie's radio spouse.
Yes.
If you knew her real husband, Marty, he is a saint behind the wheel. So you would never, you'd never see him. Yeah,
I was referring to Jerry, Peter. When I was talking, I was referring to Jerry, who does that out loud. So you and Jerry share something in common.
Okay, well, that's great. I try to put out the red carpet when someone gets angry at me, but then they get angrier because I'm out of my car. But that's my take on it, and I just hope people start to repent first and pray, and that God shows which He has in past generations, His mercy, because we're in dire need of it. And unless we acknowledge that, we can joke lightly about road rage, but it's really becoming life-threatening, and it doesn't say a lot for us as a culture, as a community, and as a people of God. And that's my bottom line.
Great take, Peter. Thank you for listening, and tell the folks at Redeemer Radio we are grateful. They air Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thanks for your phone call. I think it boils down to the word I use, quite frankly, is narcissism. I think we have got so much selfishness and narcissism in this world, and I point the first finger at myself, but I see people every day. There'll be like a 3-lane road going one way, and they'll be in the far left lane, and they want to turn right, and the corner where they want to turn comes up, and they'll just cross 2 lanes and turn, and it's just like, I don't care what anybody else thinks, because this is what I want to do, And I look at that and I just say, it's just hard to fathom sometimes. And again, I am no saint, believe me. I made a lot of progress when it comes to my driving, but I still have a ways to go. I wanted to share real quickly here, Debbie. This is from Sharon on Take2Show.com website. She says, driving is my worst vice. I get so vocal when I'm alone behind the wheel. I have to constantly take it to confession. I so want this piece of my life to get under control. Well, Sharon, hopefully you've taken something away from today's broadcast that will help you do that.
Here's a recommendation. I would turn on Catholic radio on the car radio if you don't have it on an app, or listen to Christian music or something of that nature. I do that all the time, and it constantly just gets my heart rate balanced, and it just feels, it feels really, really good. And so speaking on that, we have a great lineup of shows the rest of the day, Jerry, where people can listen all day long like we do.
Yeah, EWTN Radio just continues right along at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Catholic Answers Live. Guess who's hosting today, Debbie?
You?
I am. Yeah, I get to.
That's awesome. I love when you host.
Yeah. My good friend Carlo Broussard is going to be on. It's going to be a good program, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So for those of you who are Jerry junkies and didn't get enough of me during this hour of the program, I have 2 hours coming up with you later today. But Debbie, once again, by the way, Mary and Elmira and the others, wish we had time for you, but another great hour of takes from our listeners.
Yep, this is the month, our anniversary month, first anniversary of Take Two. Thanks so much, you guys. You guys are awesome. This is a great show, and we've learned so much today just talking about how's my driving. That was today's show, in case you missed it and you want to hear about it. Tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking about, is Mass an afterthought? Wow, is Mass an afterthought? So we want to hear from you. Until then, Jerry and I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day.